Today with an old friend, Tom Cushman, attorney Tom Cushman, who's represented a lot of the artists and musicians here in town in the cause against the city, and he's a hero and a champion of all of us, and a great constitutional scholar and fighter. Tom Cushman.
My name is Thomas Elijah Cushman. I was born in Burlington, Vermont. Grew up in St. Pete, Florida. Went to the University of Florida undergrad, FSU Law School. Graduated in '73. Became a member of the Florida Bar in '73. Joined the Public Defender's Office in Daytona in 1973. Was there for almost 7 years. Went into private practice in St. Augustine, and in 1982 or 83 I decided I was going to do full-time criminal defense, and I did that until 1989 when I joined the state attorney's office as a division chief of the state attorney's office in St. John's. Was there for exactly 4 years. John Tanner, the man I was working for, managed to lose the election. So I went back into private practice in '93 and been in private practice ever since. I'm board certified in criminal trial work and recently got board certified in criminal appeals. And so the Florida Bar says I'm authorized to represent myself as an expert in criminal trial and criminal appeals. I'm a little reluctant to do that, but it's nice to have the thing on the wall. Well, I came to St. Augustine in 1980 and did general practice with Olin Meredith and Jeff Dobson for a couple of years. Dabbled in family law, dabbled in civil law, dabbled in personal injury, and I decided I really didn't like dabbling, that I knew what I was doing with criminal law, and that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I did. It seems amazing to me that when I came here, St. Augustine was not a little redneck town. It was really quite sophisticated for a small place of intelligence in North Florida. And population development and growth, I think we've gone backwards, especially in the city, dealing with outlawing art, the sale of art, creation of art, and music. I think they took the wrong turn drastically in the mid and late '90s, and it's been a continuing war ever since. You make it against the law to sell things that are protected by the First Amendment. And as you know, a couple of years ago, there was a lawsuit by 4 artists against the city in federal court. I was proud to be part of that group that did that. We won, got an injunction against enforcement of the city ordinance, obtained damages for the artist of, about $2,500 apiece, not a whole lot of money. But then there was more than $40,000 in attorney's fees cost the city, and rather than simply taking the federal pronouncement as what they ought to do, they immediately passed a new ordinance, basically making it worse. Before that, it was not illegal to create art on St. George Street or in the plaza. It is now, which is insane. Not that I don't think there's some sort of conspiracy against the artist. I think that's been going on for years, but that's just plain greed and jealousy. The likelihood of recovering damages, though, is what really limits it, because we're dealing with starving artists, many of whom should not be starving. They should be recognized as real community assets, but because they're starving artists, their time and their troubles don't bring as much in damages.
Yeah.
And so the real weapon is often the ability to collect attorney's fees from the other side for violation of civil rights, which is what the federal lawsuit was about, it would be about again. We're hoping for a political solution where we can find 3 sane members of the city commission who will replace the ordinances and recognize the rights of the artists and other individuals and the citizens, the right to free expression. And truthfully, the ability to make St. Augustine a mecca for artists and musicians, I think would have a tremendous beneficial economic impact on the city.
Absolutely.
And I have no idea why they're so much against that. I mean, and it's been through at least 2 different city managers. We have a new one now who I'm optimistic he's sane. We need 3 as a majority. And I have never understood why they are so afraid to do what is clearly the right thing. Now, there are clearly some individuals with some money who take the opposite approach and have always been against us. But on the other hand, they're entitled to their opinion, and they're entitled to speak their opinion. It's the fact that the city violates individuals' civil rights, the right to sell and express themselves, and the right of the public to receive those opinions without having them censored, essentially, and forbidden by the city. Parks have been, from time immemorial, as the case says, areas of public forum where you can speak, you can display, you can sell protected speech items. Beads and suntan lotion and T-shirts are usually not First Amendment items, and so it doesn't open up the plaza or the city to just a flea market atmosphere. Although the city let it happen, they encouraged the vendors of other things to do that, and they wanted to make a spectacle of it so they could say, "Oh, isn't it terrible? See what happened." Ironically, the city has stated that they don't want commercial activity in the plaza. But remember, the east side of the plaza is called the slave market.
Yeah.
And
there's a marker there that describes the market square.
And selling human beings is commercial activity. And so it's been going on for 200-300 years. That's not a change. It's nice that they stopped selling people, but still.
To some extent.
But it's still a civil right, and it is First Amendment. And I believe that there is a reason why the First Amendment is first. It's the fundamental basis of democracy. And so we're not dealing with petty commercial interests. We're dealing with fundamental rights.
Where do you want to see it go?
Actually, I'm quite satisfied doing just what I'm doing. Occasionally, we're talking about almost always individuals having to fight the government isn't close to a fair fight. The government, whether it's the federal government, the state government, the city government, has all the advantage. They have public funding, and they have just hordes of people to do their work.
On our money.
On public money. And there are some cases where it's pretty clear that that's what ought to be going on. There are other cases where it's clearly abused. And that's where the public often has their vision obscured, that the fact that some individual may somehow escape punishment by the government doesn't mean anything except occasionally the criminal justice system works. occasionally. Otherwise, it's not pretty. It's a continuing parade of poor people, disabled people, mentally challenged.
More and worse, so it's getting worse. I tell you, when we were talking about the performers and artists and the city situation, I have a theory. Maybe I'm off, but the peak of the protest against the city's ordinance was on April 1st, '01, when the ACLU came here and 1,000 people marched up and down St. George Street making noise and protesting. And I know Nadine was there in her Statue of Liberty costume. The king came that day by accident. I mean, it was coincidental that he was here that day, but that was the April 1st on '01. Then, of course, the summer hit.
Isn't that prophetic?
Isn't it?
April Fool's Day.
Yeah. But then the summer hit. I don't mean to expound, but I'm going to tell you my theory. I'd like to know what you think. But the summer hit, and then, everything goes to hell around here in the summer. It's way too hot. And then came September 11th, and everything changed, and it became, that's when I personally recall, I was watching every moment on TV. I got a daughter in New York. I won't go on about that, but I knew at that time, within a day, that this was going to be the end of a lot of things, and this was going to be the tightening up of a lot of things. And boy, did it ever, because in my opinion, it became a police state. One side effect of it is, of course, with additional government power and authority came a bigger loss of individual liberties, and specifically, the people around here just said, well, that's too bad about the artists and performers. We've got to concern ourselves with bigger, heavier issues, security being the main one.
Well, I think that's unfortunately true nationwide, that it was used as an excuse to do away with a lot of individual freedoms.
I'd say.
Unfortunately, I think many people saw it as a choice between either observing the individual freedoms guaranteed by the Bill of Rights or selling them down the river for a little security. And it's supposed to have been Ben Franklin that said people who would trade individual freedoms for a little security deserve neither.
And we'll get neither.
Absolutely. And it was a dark day for a lot of reasons. And we lost more than 2 buildings and 3,000 people. We lost a substantial part of American liberty.
Yes,
I think the choices are clear. You're either for the Constitution or you're not. And the ones who are for it should stand up and say something. Because if they don't, our rights, our children's rights, will be taken. And they're being taken as we speak. Men will little note nor long remember what we say here, Jay.
Not if we put it on YouTube.
Well, maybe, but with the ability to record and tape and broadcast, that's a bright light that some of the worst regimes in the world were unable to stop the Arab Spring because of new media. The genie is out of the bottle and they cannot control it. Yeah.
You better keep your eye on that desk, Tom. I love it.
It's not easily toted around, I'll tell you that. Well, one of I've got quite a few proud possessions in here, but as a result of fighting these art wars, I've got a fairly nice collection of art. I've got Dean Quigley on the wall. I've got Emmett Fritz on the wall. I've got Jane Cole in the other room. I've got Greg Travis. Several places. Nadine has Greg Travis. just a lot of art by people that I've known and represented, and that I'm proud to know. They're talented people, and
You and me both.
we're just going to keep on fighting.
Keep on fighting.
Yeah,
All right.
until the world gets right, which I'm not optimistic about.
Won't be in our lifetime.
I don't think so.
All right, Tom. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.